let's have a look. Step 31. So I'm looking for the perimeter. So we got those bits and those bits. So all these bits. So let's just cut some out and offer them up. They don't actually show the joins on the plan, so something to be aware of there. Now, due to the thickness of this wood, you might get away with using my thinner pins, actually pinning it down. I'm lining up all the rib slots. Let's just try a pin through. Oh. One there. I'll put one in the middle. I'm not worried about the outer edge because I'm going to glue that. I'm going to sand that. But this spar slot wants to be where the spar slot has to be. Unless your spar's not going to line up, it's going to throw everything out. That one looks pretty easy. Pop that one in. I'm using plenty of CA on, especially because it's end grain. I'm just going to soak it up. Again, lining up the slots and then pushing the joint together. Right, there we are. That's the outer structure in, leading and trailing edges. Now we break out the two main spars. In fact, well, there's three in all because one's the aileron leading edge. So I'm going to take them all out now. Now these have to sit flat on the building board, so I'm just going to sand off those little nibs. Right, the longer one is that one that goes in. Time to take that pin out as well. Put the pin in the wood now, it's glued. This one goes in here. Like that. It lines up absolutely magnificently. That one, yep. That one there goes in there. Again, lines up beautifully with the slots. This is a couple of steps ahead, but this is the aileron. I thought this was the aileron leading edge. But it goes down over the top of the ribs. The slots are cut in the opposite side on this one, so it goes down over the top. I'd have thought that this would go in the rear slot, not the front slot, like that. So that's something to be aware of, guys. Step 34 clearly shows this rear main spar in the rear slot, but that's the slot for the aileron leading edge, which is going to go in after the ribs. That would have been a bit of a pain to try and unglue that. Put a couple of vertical pins this side as shown. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's just look ahead and see if they corrected themselves. Yeah, they have. They've corrected themselves there, so just looking to see if it's all been mashed about. They might have got a new wing out there for that. Right, I'm going to put some CA on this now. Feeling rather, I'm just going to lift that out and do it actually because it goes in easy enough. Make sure they're pushed all the way in and your slots in the main spars line up for the ribs. Otherwise all your ribs are going to be skewed off to one side. Right, put that one to one side and break out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are lovely, aren't they? Beautiful wing ribs. Look at those. Again, I'm going to sand that, get the burn marks off. plywood one goes at the root. I'm going to try and assemble this dry and just CA it, having weighed it down. That's a beautiful fit. Oh, I was going to say, be very careful with these, they're very delicate. And as I picked it up, I broke it. So pop a bit of CA in there, put it against that straight bit to make sure it's straight as it dries, flat. Okay, be very, very delicate, very careful with these ribs. I want to make sure there's no tabs on the bottom, which is going to stop it sitting down onto the plan properly. Now, if this isn't going to go in easily, I'm going to file those slots a little bit bigger because they're going to break if I try and force it. That one's okay. That one's a little bit, yeah, a little bit reluctant, that back one. So I'm just going to lift that out like that. I'm just going to run the file in there just to, you can actually, have I broken that again? You can actually see that is, your eye can see it's I don't know, a couple of pounds smaller, and it's making all the difference. Once it's glued in, it won't break there because it will be glued on the main spar. I wouldn't be surprised if they all break there because it's a very small piece of cross grain, and it's very, very delicate. It's inline grain, I should say. I'll support it as I sand it. I just realised I'm sanding the wrong one. I'm going to sand it so it's slightly wider on the opening side, and it will tighten up as it goes in. You get so used to throwing big aeroplanes together that all of a sudden you really can't just press it and hope it to go in there. It's look at that, it's just not sitting in there. Okay, let's pull it carefully out. I think the problem is this slot. Let's run that down just gently like that. I reckon that will do it. The accuracy is unbelievable. Give it a gentle push. There we are. Little push there. There we are, look at that. That has taken, what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes to fit that rib? Just beautiful, look at that. Oh, I'm in heaven. Now that's a riblet. Don't glue those in there because you've got the little, just what called riblets. It's just the front part of the rib. They're all there. They'll go in between. So stick to the drawing. Lovely. I'm going to do the rest, guys. I'll be back in a jiffy. We want to make sure that things are flat here. So as I glue each one in, I'm going to hold it flat to the building board. Okay, that's the plywood one. We'll do one at a time, didn't do the front. So I'm holding everything down, the ribs I'm holding down, the leading edge I'm holding down, the trailing edge I'm holding down. Next is to drop the 5 riblets in. Yeah, look at that, it just goes in a treat. Isn't it marvellous that with all the different construction materials we've got today, that balsa wood is still, you know, where it should be. Number one, I'd say, number one. There are lots of weird and wonderful materials we've got available, but I don't think there's any quite as satisfying as working with balsa wood. CA around those. Right, there we go. Now what we're looking at. Now we build the aileron. So I need that spar which I took out earlier and the back end of a rib, which is the aileron closure. Oh, it's flying together, pardon the pun. So, step 37, fit the components. So that one's going to go in there. Actually, yeah, okay. That one should just winkle down in there. Might have to ease something here. And they mount the little servos down on their side, just down here they'll have to go. Just there, because the horn goes in this corner. I made a boo-boo there. This wing rib hasn't got, yes, I think I might have done. I think I've made a boo-boo. One of these ribs, I might show you easier on this, has not got a top slot and it's got an extra big hole here. I'm guessing that one should be possibly, probably, almost certainly that one there. I've perchance fitted it up here and it should be that one there because the leading edge of the aileron doesn't need to go into the slot at the end, so there's a slot here that's not going to do anything. That's a bit of a tricky one because the lightning hole cut in it is actually bigger than the other ribs. That's the one is actually bigger. So if I cut a slot here, that's sort of going to fall apart a bit. And I've got a slot here I need to fill. That's why sometimes written instructions are good, or alternatively, that's why we watch videos to find out where these little boo-boos are. So what's the best way to correct it? I'd like to glue that piece in there, but those pieces don't exist. They've all dropped out in the manufacturing process. So I either cut a piece to go in there, excuse me, or I cut a slot. I think I'm going to go with the cut a slot method. Which is just there. At least I'll know for the other wing. Oh, just gently rock it, I was going to say. That's alright, it hasn't broken, it's just flexed. Now I'm going to hold that while I cut off. Right. Now, at least I've got a slot that can go in. Let's try that again then. That's why it wouldn't go down. Right, and then this little rib at the end goes in there. Even the right way up would be useful. Goes under there and in, like that. Let's just glue that. Well, I think we've salvaged that just got away with that. Let's glue it while I'm here. Fixed, so be aware of that then, guys. That one wing rib is subtly different and it needs to go at that end. Now we can unpin it, hold it down. Let's just double check actually. Actually, I think there was a, yeah, there is a gusset to go in. That one there. It's not so much a gusset actually, because the grain's running the wrong way. It's actually a mounting for the aileron horn itself. So it goes in there. Very nice. And that way. So we'll pop that in place and that will be the wing done. What I'll do, I'll pop the wing off now and maybe just run some CA along the, let's just check that. There's one more thing still to do, and that is the bits sticking out the fuselage actually key into the wing, but you have to create a little box for them to go into, and that's created using, I saw them just now, they're created using these little pieces here. So we pull out 2 pairs. So these are the 4 components and they go on there, and I'm guessing almost certainly that would go just here. So there's a little slot in the rib that will line up with these little pieces here, and they'll go in. But because it's so tight, it's just deforming that top one ever so slightly. So I'm just going to just take the back end off there slightly. That one doesn't matter because it's in thin air. So I think the best way to do that is just to put some CA on it and drop it in like that. Not aiming to get too much CA in the slot side itself if I can't help it. A little bit on the end. That goes in there. Check the slot's clear. To complete the box, that will go on the outside. So what I'm going to do, again, a little bit there, and I'm going to put the glue around the edge, but not in the centre. A little bit on the end, like that, and that will go on there. So there's your wing mounting box. We'll do the same on the front one. Right then guys, what we'll do, we'll pop that off and build the other one, and then I'll come back to you and we'll see what the next step is. Cheers. I built the second wing. It went together really quickly. So just to recap, look for the rib that's only got the one cut out in the top. That goes on the inside edge. And make sure that the rear main spar is in the forward slot, not the backward slot, which is the slot for the aileron. Now instructions tell me to, the other thing I've done, I've just pushed the wings onto their supports because I want to make sure they'll slide on and off easily after it's been tissued. It's a tight fit, so what I've done, I've just gently sanded the prongs, we'll call them, that stick out of the fuselage, just rounded them off slightly, take the square edge off and finned them ever so slightly, just so as they can ease on a little bit at a time. So the next job, build the left wing the same way. Now we're saying cut off the aileron and polish the edge. Well, what they mean is cut the aileron off and sand it all. But I'm not going to do that because I want to sand it first. Because by sanding it first, then everything becomes at the same level. If you start sanding it afterwards, then it's not going to fit and match exactly. So my next job there is to actually sand it all, not on the model. Let's just take the wing off. Let's move that out of the way a minute. So I'm just easing it off a little bit at a time. That's still a little bit tight, that back one. But once it gets going, I think it tightens it up as it goes down. So there we go. So I'm going to sand them. Didn't that look great, by the way? Once it's on, just pulling against the fuselage there, or I should say pushing against the fuselage just to ease it off. It's quite a big wing area actually, isn't it? Right. So I'm going to sand them, but there's these little funny clips, and they're probably part of the undercarriage. Yeah, they hold the undercarriage. Just wondering, and then the undercarriage components themselves. Oh, they screw together. That's interesting because they're made of plywood. These parts here, and then we got a box of little screws, so we screw them together. I will be sanding the edges into a streamlined shape, not just leaving them square. Same with the wing struts. These are the bits I have to take off next, I think. They're glued onto the bottom of the fuselage here. Oh yeah, some slots there, which are at the correct angle. So I've got to cut those and put them on. Before I do that, I'm going to sand the bottom because once they're on, I won't be able to sand that. So I'm just going to sand like this, like that, and get them flat. It's good to look ahead. Oh, and they show you the picture, step 50 of what they look like assembled. Didn't realise they were screwed together. That's rather good, isn't it? And then a piece of 1mm carbon is the axle, and then you make up the wheels, glue them all together with the tyres, and little plywood bearings, a little bit of heat shrink to stop the wheels falling off. Now what's that little curve? Oh, it's a tail skid. Little tail skid to go in. Again, good idea to sand the fuselage before you put things in the way. And then you make up the dummy engine cylinders. So it looks like the next step really is making up the undercarriage components.